Good day. Thank you for tuning into this 2019 General Election Candidate Forum for the City of Tumwater, Council Position Number 7. The forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and Thurston Community Media. The League is a nonprofit organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in their government. The League neither supports nor opposes candidates or parties. We are nonpartisan. The League registers new voters, works to get out the vote, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with governing bodies. Despite its name, the League is open to both men and women of age 16 and up. I'm Allison Brooks from the League, and I'll be moderating this forum. The candidates for City of Tumwater Council Position 7 are Charles Schneider and Neil McClanahan. For this forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then I'll ask questions in alternating order. The person first asked the question will have 2 minutes for a response, followed by 1 minute from the other candidate. There will be 1 minute for closing statements at the end. We'll begin with opening statements from the candidates, beginning with Charles Schneider and followed by Neil McClanahan. Charles, you can begin. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to begin by thanking the League of Women Voters for having this forum tonight and having us here. Although this is my first time running for political office, it doesn't mean I don't have experience. I've worked for the Postal Service for almost 40 years, and because of that, I was prohibited by the Hatch Act to run for a partisan office. So that's when I decided, 20 years ago, that I would take up volunteer work. And I'm proud to say, after 20 years of volunteerism, that some of the same causes I've done for 20 years are still relevant today. My wife Nancy and I moved here in January of 2015, and we've taken an active part in our community. I organized the annual National Night Outs. I also do a stream team. I do a restoration project in the Chutes River and other events in our community. I also, is because we asked for a park in our neighborhood and I was a big pusher for that, they appointed me Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, and I now serve as the Vice Chair. I'm convinced that our city can do better, and I believe I'm that person for that position. I like to quote Martin Luther King, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and a verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Together we can make a difference, and all I ask for is your vote."
Thank you, Charles. Neil, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. Again, I also appreciate this opportunity to speak with the League of Women Voters. This is not my first time here. I've been here several times. This is my 16th year as council member with Tumwater, City of Tumwater. And why am I running? Well, I have a 34-year career as law enforcement. And I learned long ago about the need of functional families and dysfunctional issues having to do with families that causes some of the root causes of poverty and people in our community that end up in jail or in homeless situations and stuff. My entire career speaks of service. As a council member, I have strived to be a voice for those who have none. For example, I worked with John Bash, the former superintendent of Tumwater City School Districts, in partnerships with the Housing Authority, which I am the chair of, to bring Allen Orchard housing program to housing Tumwater homeless children and our families. That was done about 5 years ago, and we ended up 30 seconds. We ended up having it so these children can leave from Peter G. Smith School, walk across the street into housing instead of living in cars or other part of that, other campers or trucks or living in cars and stuff too. So that's part of what I am. A whole bunch more than that. So yeah, okay.
Well, thank you for your opening statement. And now we'll move on to the questions. So, question 1, Charlie, you get to start and you'll have 2 minutes, and Neil, you'll have 1 minute for a response. So, where do things stand now with the Old Brick Brewery, and what are the main issues involved? What kind of development do you envision in the brewery area?
Okay, so if we're speaking specifically the brick part of that building, the challenges are there is obviously the overcost, okay? It's my understanding is it's going to cost $400,000 more than anticipated. So there's going to be a strong push to have deep pockets to help finance that, because us as a city that do not have that money. Also, access to that property is tough because the buildings that surround that property are dilapidated and they need to be revitalized or destroyed, and it's a one-lane road leading down there. And if we're ever going to make that accessible to traffic, we're going to have to widen that to 2 lanes. That is on private property. So it was suggested that we put a bridge over the Chutes River, and that way people can cross from the historical park to the brick tower. Any of these suggestions are going to cost a lot of money, and us as a city do not have that money, so it's going to take a big funding effort to make sure that that happens.
Thank you. Neil, you have 1 minute to talk to us about the brewery.
The old brick building down there? Yeah.
Historic.
It's been there since 1906, I believe it is, built down there. And Cook, with the city of Tumwater, has done a great job of garnering money and support and pro bono work from a lot of contractors in there. If you go down there right now, you'll see it. It has a sheeting on the outside of it, and they're trying to preserve the bricks on it and work with that. Yeah, Charlie's right. It's going to be a lot of money, but I think what we see here is what we're seeing here now is what we're up against is that we have to make sure that that's in our front site, and the last meeting we had with the county work session was to ask for us to all the council members to pony up and be a part of that. And I agree with that as well, for funding for that.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to question 2. Neil, you get to go first.
Okay.
You'll have 2 minutes.
Okay.
As part of the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan with Lacey, Olympia, and the county, Tumwater is working with the Thurston Regional Planning Council to address climate change issues. What action items do you support, and how do you propose to further these efforts to combat climate change?
We're in a pickle. We have done not a very good stewards of our environment, we need to have that on our radar screen as far as working to work on the environmental issues. Some of those environmental issues have to do with what we see is like the salmon hatcheries. I got the governor's office to come up with $5.7 million down there at Tumwater Falls Park to build a catchment facility to enhance that, and then hopefully later on to enhance it to Pioneer Park for a whole new fish hatchery down there to keep that salmon run going. And that's part of our environment. It's part of our history. It's part of our, what we work on in the communities. And so that needs to take place because, and it will take place. So I'm pleased that I got the money to do that. You go down there, walk down there now, you'll see it. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and pretty soon we'll have that down there at Pioneer Park as well. And so I'm in lockstep with the tribe, with the Squaxin tribe, and to make that thing happen. So yeah.
Great. Okay, Charlie, you can respond. You have 1 minute.
Okay, I will respond. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I personally do a restoration project down on the Chutes River. Obviously, that's a vital part of the salmon run. So we need to take care of that. We need to get that back in order it should be. Being said, on that, we need to preserve green spaces, okay, and support that we have trees and open spaces. It's also important that we have more solar panels on our government buildings, clean energy. So this is a lot of little things we can do, but when you add up all these little things, it becomes a major thing, and it's an effective way to try to help with climate change.
Thank you. Okay, question 3. Charlie, you're going to go first this time, and you'll have 2 minutes. The Spring Summer Tumwater newsletter mentioned several initiatives on maintaining affordable housing. All these initiatives concern fixed unit dwellings or preserving existing mobile home parks. What, if any, initiatives are being considered for recreational vehicles used as full-time dwellings? What do you think of such a proposal?
Okay, and that's a touchy subject, because we all know that if you drive down the roads that you see these vehicles parked for an unlimited amount of time. So we do need to set aside land to have these vehicles, recreational vehicles and such, so they are off our roadways, they are in a safe area. The Union Gospel Mission actually has cars that are parked there full time, and so that's a good purpose for them. But we need to address this issue, because if you go along Capitol Lake, most people are afraid to walk along there because of those vehicles, and even some of the police officers are kind of hesitant to give tickets. So we need to address that issue, and we need to set aside an area for those individuals.
Thank you. Neil, you have 1 minute.
For 35 years, I have been working on housing and homelessness in this community. Again, as a sheriff's deputy, I saw that, and to work on that. I'm proud to say we have this time all the cities and the county at the same table talking about homeless and housing issues. This is the first time we've had it, and we have 2 groups that are working on it independently, the county and also the city of Olympia. And we need to make that on our radar screen as a regular, all the time, not just one at a time, not on a shelf, but for all of us to be able to work on that. I'm proud of that, and I'm working on that, and I will continue to work on that when I'm reelected.
So we're going to follow with another homelessness question. So Neil, you'll get to start. And it is, please describe the current homelessness situation in Tumwater. How do you propose to address the issue, and how would you engage homeless individuals in the process?
Well, I've been working on this for many, many years. People thought I was nuts when I was a cop talking about homelessness and dysfunctional families and stuff. Again, Alan Orchards brought in 5 units for homeless children and their families in our community. I was part of that. I will continue to be part of that. So, so what we're talking about is having the counties and the cities working together in unison to work on this together, and not just be this one-time thing. We make a plan, or 10-year plan, or 5-year plan, and just stick it on the shelf. It has to be ongoing right now for that, and that's what we're working on, and that's important to see. Look up my if you look up on Thurston Talks, look up there and Google my name, you'll see my history and why I'm passionate about this, and why I'm passionate about the issues having to do with homelessness in our community, and in particular our children. People don't realize how many children we have, and these children they're homeless in our community. They aren't teenagers running away. These are 3rd graders. And that comes from the superintendent of public instructions. When I met with him, we did the homeless count about 10 years ago. So we're all working on that.
Thank you. Charlie, you have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you for that. First of all, I'm directly involved with some of the homeless issues. I worked as a volunteer for Habitat for Humanity for many years, and I used to build straw bale homes in the Hopi Reservation in Arizona. So I'm very well versed with the homeless problem we have. We have a lot of good organizations. First of all, we got to realize this is regional, so we have to work with Lacey and Olympia. Right now, we don't really have an area to put homeless people, so they're out in the woods, and we don't offer a lot of services. They go to Olympia, and we're talking about had a mitigation site in Lacey. So we have to work with partnership between the 3 cities to try to solve this problem as best we can.
Thank you. Thank you both. We have our last question, and this time you both get 2 minutes. So we'll start with Charlie, and the question is, what is your assessment of bus service in Tumwater? What are or should be plans for increasing service, and what would you advocate for?
Thank you for that. That's a great question. So as I've been going doorbelling, that's one of the questions that has been brought up, especially in the recently annexed areas. They're upset because inner city transit is not coming in their area. One lady happens to be disabled, and the only way she could get to and from is the bus service. And others want to know why our taxes went up to support bus services, but we do not have that service in our community. I assured them that we would check that out and see what we can do. I know, speaking to inner city busing, that it takes time. It takes time to train people to drive buses. It takes time to get buses. So I try to assure them, even though we passed that levy, it still takes time. You just have to be a little patient.
Thank you. Neil, you have 2 minutes to talk about bus service.
Well, like bus service is a critical point, critical issue having to do with the transportation of and particularly people that have to access for jobs and for housing and for schools and stuff with this. The inner city transit has done a wonderful job of putting that together. I think if they enhance it even further and spread it out to the bigger community out there that we could look on as far as working with these families and stuff as a bus service, it's important because that is an integral part of keeping people be able to serve themselves or whatever. The city of Olympia and Lacey and Tumwater are all working on this homeless aspect of this too, and certainly inner city transit is a big deal with that. And they're a wonderful organization, and they do a great job. We to continue to do that, enhance that, and we have representatives from Tumwater on that. I have not been on that before, but we have representatives from the city of Tumwater that sit on that board to open up bus stops and stuff around the area. So these kids and families can get going.
Great. Well, thank you both. We now have 1 minute each for closing statements. And so, Neil, you get to go first for 1 minute. You have closing statement.
Well, thank you very much again for having this forum and stuff about this. I'm passionate about the issues that we're talking about here today, and I have been passionate about it for over 30 years. My history is that of working with all kinds of boards and commissions in our community. And I run the Thurston County Housing Authority. I'm a chair of that. Thurston County Economic and Trade Development Council. I'm a board member of that. Alliance for Healthy South Sound Environment. I'm a board member of that. Home Consortium, I was former chair of that. Housing Task Force, former chair and founding member of that. Community Youth Services, board member and twice past president. Homeless Backpacks, founding member of that. And Monarch Sexual Assault Clinic, founding member and a part of that, along with Family Sport Dinner as family founding member of that as well. So,
Well, thank you. Charlie, you have a minute for a closing statement.
Okay, like I said in the beginning, I've done volunteer work for 20 years. So I not only talk the talk, I walk the walk. There's a lot of things we need in our community. And I think I'm the person to deliver that. I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of desire to things get done. It's just been driven that I would go from a commissioner to this. And I just think we can make a difference. There's things in our city that have been going on for quite a while, and we need changes. And I believe I'm the person to make that happen. I appreciate you having me here tonight. And it's nice talking to you, Neil, and hearing your side of the issues. And I appreciate everybody viewing in and watching us.
Well, thank you both for participating in our forum. And thank you to the viewers for participating in the League of Women Voters General Election Forum for the City of Tumwater Council Position Number 7. We encourage voters to vote in the general election on November 5th, 2019. Please remember your ballots are postage free, so you could just put them in the mail or still drop them in the ballot box. And the League particularly thanks Thurston Community Media for their ongoing support and assistance with our forums. Thank you again, and thank you. Good night.